Sneaking out to the drive-in? Why not take the kiddies along and save the expense of a sitter? Everyone enjoys the drive-in.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Are you implying because you're asking that we're in?
I think we're in, and okay. I think that we can say hello to everyone.
We can, yes. Welcome an hour later or earlier. I can never remember. Daylight savings time really messes me up.
It's spring forward.
Yeah, I know, but I lost an hour, so technically we're behind.
Now, Jeff, before we begin, I think that your plea to our listeners last week may have struck a chord with someone out there.
That's good, because I was completely underwhelmed with the response.
I think that maybe people were a little bit scared that we were packing it in.
Did we get like mass people subscribing?
No. I think we get twice in a row, because this happens occasionally. But 2 days in a row, we got over 150 listens from the same state, from the same area. So I think people are panicking and trying to help us with our listens.
Is that what it is? It's like, no, keep them on the air.
Thank you out there. But it really, it messes with my head, because I look at our listens and I say, we got 150 listens today. Oh, they're all from the same city. Okay.
Thank you, Mom. May I ask what city that is?
The first day it just said New York, which I think for our purposes is the New York City, Dutchess County, Ulster County area.
Okay.
So lower New York, around the city. And then the second day it was Columbus, Ohio. So thank you, whoever's in Columbus, Ohio.
I have family in Ohio, but not Columbus. That's all right. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, listen, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, right?
Yes, we are.
But it would be nice. People start spreading the news. Pull a little Frank Sinatra there. So let's get in. We'll go. Oh, wait. Do you want to talk about what we're actually talking about?
We are talking about a new Netflix movie called Space Sweepers.
Space Sweepers. I envision like curling in space. Or they just released them. That's actually my favorite
curling.
Sport, by the way.
I
love curling. It. Trish actually got me a membership to the Arling Curling Club last year.
Really?
And of course, COVID hit, and I was never able to take advantage of it, because where I grew up, upstate New York, we tapped into like Canadian television. So after Saturday morning cartoons, you would either get local bowling for dollars, or you would get curling. And I mean, they're technically kind of the same sport. Curling is just like an advanced version of
what
marbles.
Do they call that thing? A curling iron?
No, that's the Rock.
It's the Rock?
Curling iron.
Because it looks like an iron, right? With the handle?
It's a big rock with a handle.
It's a big rock with a handle.
Yeah, stone or a rock, I guess. But I've always obsessed with it. So the fact that we actually have clubs here, I was like, that's cool. So eventually I'll actually get to play it.
How did we start talking about this? I don't even remember now.
Who knows? Rabbit hole number 1. Here we go. All right, Space Sweepers. That's why.
And so what is our co-feature, Jeff?
What are we pairing this up with? What did I watch? I forgot. Oh, yeah, we're watching Sky High, which I'm very excited for, because, Jim, you said you had never seen it.
Correct.
And
I've never seen it.
I sincerely hope that your son got to watch this with you.
Yes, he did.
Okay. I think we need to set up his own YouTube channel, and he could just be like a subsidiary of TMI, because I'm really curious about his take. This movie was in constant rotation at my family. My kids loved it. And when I sat down to watch it this week, I actually got a little emotional, because this was a fun movie for 2005. So, daughter was 5. My son was 3 at the time, but we've watched it, many, many times. So
I assumed this was the case because you had picked this, but I was curious if Christina's son was familiar with this already as well.
No,
Fine.
he wasn't, because he was actually born in 2006.
Yeah, but
So this wasn't something that he had, watched when it came out. When it came out, I saw it once, and then I never watched it again until, whatever, a few days ago. So
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll get there. That's on the back end. Right.
And so the connection between these two just
is tenuous at best. It was simply after we watched the trailer for Space Sweepers, I'm like, these look like kids. So that was really
kids.
I mean, they're not
Light bulb.
kids.
No, I know, but they
There's one kid.
Well,
Yeah.
little baby, little blow up baby. So yeah, there really is. Unfortunately, there was no. Although you had mentioned Serenity, which would have been a spot on pairing because it really is almost there's a parallel to the nth degree there. But
maybe you'll listen to me next time, huh?
I know. Well, listen, you got to watch Sky High instead, and maybe
Yes,
one day we can talk Firefly.
Yes, I did.
Firefly and Serenity together because that does need to be talked about somewhere. All right. So anyways, before we talk about that, let's get into some news. All right. I'm going to throw you guys are like horror aficionados. So I'm going to throw out a name and I want you to just give me your one word impression of this director. Rob Zombie.
Yuck.
My horror cred is going
There we
to
go.
plummet after this. After I say this, I went to go see The Devil's Rejects and I was with friends, so I couldn't get up and leave. So I shut my eyes during most
You
of it
shut your eyes
because I didn't want to watch it. It was so unpleasant.
Yeah. I said
See,
yuck, and I mean yuck. Like his films like are in like the torture porn category.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
they're very, very intense. They're very brutal. Like I enjoy horror that's more suspenseful. Like obviously you take a certain amount of blood and gore with
But this is in
the
your
genre,
face.
but he's like he goes beyond. Like for
Okay.
me. Yeah,
Right.
that's like beyond my comfort level.
Obviously, it's well beyond my comfort level. I've never seen any of his movies, nor do I have any desire to. So that's why I wanted to kind of pick your brains. But apparently, he's set to write and direct a Monsters movie.
I mean,
with torture porn
I don't know.
incorporated.
if it's in
Little
the
Eddie getting
spirit
tied
of
up
the
underneath
old,
Spike's.
if it's in the spirit of the old TV show, okay. Like he
But-
actually comes across, if you've seen interviews with him, he comes across as kind of a fun guy. Like he loves Baby Metal, the J-pop metal band.
Nope.
Um,
Nope. Baby metal, huh?
he actually was defending them because people were saying they weren't real metal, and he's like, they're metal. Like,
Okay.
they're a bunch of girls in like
Oh, is that why
little
they're being?
Lolita gothic Lolita outfits, but they're metal, and he's like, was sticking up for them. There was a bunch of like internet trolls who were going after them, saying that they
course.
weren't like a real band.
Of course.
But he seems like he has a fun side.
But has it ever
so-
shown up on screen?
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
We'll see. I don't know.
But on the other hand, he does tend to cast all these classic B movie older horror actors. But yeah, as Christina was saying, his movies are too intense, too brutal. They're really downbeat. I did attempt to watch the Halloween reimagining that he did. Didn't like that either. And I only made it maybe through 20 minutes of that.
His films are hard to watch unless you're really into that type of horror. Like you have to know what you're getting into.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, anybody who's familiar with the Monsters know it's not horror. But maybe. I guess we'll just keep an eye on this because I thought that was very interesting. Avatar has passed Avengers Endgame as the top global box office champ because it was reissued in China and it made $8 million this weekend.
I mean, these rankings have become so meaningless the last like 10, 15 years.
It's a piss and match just to get top spot.
I mean, more because, when a lot of films were released in the 70s and 80s. They didn't have a real global release, like,
Right.
in every single country. And now they do. Now these films are released everywhere. So of course, even if you adjust for inflation,
Right.
there's going to be more tickets sold worldwide than there would have been, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Sure.
So, I mean, if you look at the top 10, like, it's all films that have come out in the last decade or so, right?
Yeah.
Harry Potter movies and Avengers movies, the Star Wars movies, whatever. Avatar might even be one of the older movies on the list. Avatar, Titanic.
It could be 2009.
Yeah. Are they even making sequels, or is this
He's making
just,
like
is
5
this
in
just
a row.
rumor?
He's making like 5 in a row, which I get. You spent all that time and technology creating that world, so why not take advantage of it? But you're now 12 years later.
Yeah, I know. Nobody's going to care by the time.
But I think this is smart for him to re-release it, or Paramount or whoever it was that pulled the trigger, re-release this. Because I will say, seeing this in IMAX and 3D was just an experience. But anyways, I don't know. It's a 2.8 billion versus a 2.975 billion. So it's not like they really blew him out of the water. I also read about this in Hollywood Reporter, and I'm not really sure what to make of it. But apparently there is a remake of Scarface in development. How do you make this movie in this day and age?
I know.
And why? I mean, listen, it's not. I've seen it. I saw it in college, and it was a thing. But
Yes.
there's no way. I don't know. It just makes no sense to me.
Most remakes these days get released and disappear, and
But
that's probably what's going to happen with this one as well.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyways, we got nothing more to say about that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that just seems weird.
It does.
And
Weird. It
why-
is.
And I always wonder about actors who think, what I really want to do is step into this iconic role from like one of the greatest
And be
actors
compared.
of all
and be-
time.
Yeah.
Like that's what I really want for my career, to be compared to Al Pacino, like apples
Right.
to apples.
Hooah!
Thank you.
Yeah, bizarre. Good news though, which is I guess that WandaVision has created such a stir in some of those old storylines that Marvel has gone back to press on some of the trade paperbacks.
Really?
So that's huge because we've talked numerous times about the numbers of the MCU don't really translate into people walking into comic book stores.
So are you talking about the various Vision and Scarlet Witch?
Yes, correct.
Limited
Yeah.
series, things like
some
that.
Of some of the storylines that they pulled from the the regular series get repackaged as a graphic novel or whatnot. So interest is there. People are buzzing about WandaVision. So hopefully they can maintain that going into Falcon and Winter Soldier.
And now, for those that are interested, I just noticed, and I watched it yesterday afternoon, there is a making of WandaVision now available on Disney Plus. Yeah.
No, does it dive into like the entire series?
Yes, it does, from
Okay.
first episode to the last episode.
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
about an hour long, so it's
Okay.
not like an ongoing series like I think The Mandalorian
Right. Yeah.
was.
The gallery.
Just one episode, 1 hour, but it is informative.
No,
They don't go into decisions like why, what does Evan Peters' presence
Yeah.
mean or anything like that.
No,
It's very much, this is how we did it. They behind the scenes on the sitcom and the live studio audience and stuff like that.
There's no cameo by Reed Richards showing
No
up,
cameo
talking
by
about
Reed
why
Richards.
he got caught.
No cut scene with Reed Richards. No.
Bummer. So, all right. The only other news item I want to talk about, which is, I think that Jim had mentioned this at one point, but the rumors are really starting to swirl. There's this talk that Disney has a live action Luke Skywalker series in development, and that Sebastian Stan has been actively pursued to pick up this role. And I know this is like fan speculation for like day one. And obviously once we got Luke Skywalker at the end of Mandalorian, then, demand went through the roof. I don't know what to make of it. Apparently it says that they would cherry pick canon and non-canon stories from the comic books and the novels. So I'm just going to sit tight and hope that some of my books go through the roof again.
So Jeff, how would you feel about this? A Luke Skywalker show with a different actor. We loved Solo, so.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not opposed to it, especially if you're gonna put it in the context of After Jedi. and you see Luke kind of building the Jedi Academy. I mean, he could be, I mean, I hate to say it, but he could be a Dumbledore type character, and the story really centers on, the next generation of Jedi Knights that Kylo Ren will eventually kill. So I don't know. I'm not opposed to, at this point, you can't have Mark Hamill in there unless you bookend it. I don't know if you remember the Indiana Jones Chronicles TV show, but they actually did that in one episode. Well, the series itself was always like young Indy. There was like 3 different age groups that he would show him, but they would bookend it with old Indy telling the story. And in one episode, they actually had Harrison Ford come in. So, I mean, you could have Mark Hamill sitting in Achu in his little hovel, and he's telling stories to the holocron or something. I'm in. So, and that's all the news I have. But back to Baby Metal. Is that what you said? Baby Metal's
Baby Metal.
Baby Metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like
Alrighty.
Is that a group or is that a genre?
No, they're a group. They're
Okay.
called Baby Metal, all one
Baby
word.
Metal. Baby Metal.
And they're a Japanese kawaii metal band. So, and they're a bunch of girls who, like I said, wear these kind of gothic Lolita outfits, and it's very stylized, but they play metal. And Rob Zombie is apparently a fan. So that actually raised him a lot in my estimation.
Really?
Yeah, when he
Went to
came,
bat for them.
kind of came to their defense. Yeah, because I mean, he has clout.
Yeah.
Nice to see him, use it to stick up for people, and because
Right.
it was really a thing where people in the internet were going after these girls, and it's like, they're not real metal. The idea that just because you wear certain outfits or
Or that
whatever,
you're a
you're not
girl,
real
yeah.
metal. Like half of the metal bands out there didn't have an image and and weren't stylized or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was like, when you said that, like it was a School of Rock thing, that there was a whole wave of kids starting metal bands, and they
that
called it
was
baby
called
metal.
Baby metal. No.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like it's a genre all of its own.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, man, Baby Metal.
It's a
Goo goo
specific-
gaga.
It is a specific band called Baby Metal. All one word. Go look them up on YouTube. You will
Okay.
enjoy.
And you said they're Korean?
They're Japanese.
Oh, Japanese. I apologize.
It's
I was
J-pop,
looking
right?
for a segue.
Yeah. No,
Not
they're not
K-pop.
Korean.
Not K-pop.
Not K-pop, J-pop.
J-pop.
Okay.
All right,
There's
but
that,
speaking of Korean,
Yes.
Space Sweepers.
Space Sweepers.
I'm really
Netflix.
excited to talk about this.
Netflix.
I almost was expecting put on your Sunday clothes to start playing once this movie opened, because you get a very Wall-E-esque setting.
Yes, yeah. There is.
Right.
There's a nice. Too bad we already did Wall-E.
I thought about that. It would have paired well with Wall-E, or, also with any alien movie, because the UTS has a little bit of a Weyland-Yutani feel.
Yutani,
Yeah.
yes. Peter Wayland, James Sullivan are pretty much interchangeable here.
Yeah. And like we said with Serenity, which is the whole weapon of mass destruction disguised as
And
a
the whole,
woman kind
the
of a
whole thing about them picking up garbage, and I like that aspect of it as well. So let's get into it. Year is 2092, and the world and off-world is pretty much run by the UTS Corporation, which is headed by somebody that you really know right from the get-go is not in his right mind, James Sullivan, who is CEO.
Not to be confused with the monster from Monsters Inc.
Sully, yeah.
Sully.
But the interesting thing, I think, right off the bat is that, UTS literally runs the world, because your status in the universe is entirely based on whether you are a UTS citizen or a non-UTS citizen.
So again, you've got that by and large connection from Wall-E, which is a very similar thing going on. They sponsor the lifeboats that bring humanity off, and UTS is working for a better world, or so they say.
Yep. I got an Elysium
Off-world
vibe as well.
Yes, I got that as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's because, especially when at the beginning he says only the chosen few can ascend, right?
Yeah, they said what, 95% of humanity was left on Earth? Yeah.
So he's building this better world. This is the difference between like UTS and By and Large. Seems like in By and Large there is an effort to get everybody off the planet, And UTS is, they've decided to pick and choose the kind of person. It just happens that a lot of the people are rich. That's just a coincidence.
just
Yes,
decided, yeah.
because they didn't really go into that
Pay
that
no attention
much,
to the rich
as
people
to
getting
who
on the
is
boat.
up there. But you imagine that they're wealthy, well-to-do sponsors of the UTS Corporation.
Well, James Sullivan says to the reporter who confronts him and says, you've left all these people behind on a dying planet. He says, I don't care about money. It's just a coincidence that a lot of these people are rich.
Yeah, I'm above it. I'm beyond it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the world or the universe that Space Sweepers is set up in. And so as we were saying, there's citizens and there's non-citizens. Now, the non-citizens are those who don't really have that free pass to get into space, but they're out there anyway. And among these non-citizens are our heroes. So they have a ship called the Victory, and they're among many other space sweepers that pick up space debris. And space
is quite
is
numerous.
full
Yes.
of debris. So to make money, the non-citizens, they have a pass to go up into space, collect this debris, and they're in competition with other space sweepers to get the prime pieces of this debris and sell it back to UTS for whatever they do with it.
You first see a bunch of these space sweepers out trying to get the satellite, and all of a sudden they all get this warning on their screen and it says, it's coming. And they're all shouting at each other, you said they wouldn't be here. So you immediately get this impression that the crew of the Victory are not team players.
They are not team players.
Right.
They are the jerks. Nobody likes them. There's no camaraderie between the space sweepers. Everybody is out.
No, they're all out for themselves.
And as much as they're saying you said they wouldn't be here, I really doubt that they're working together either. The other space sweepers.
Yeah, no, they won't be there. Go up. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You go ahead. We'll wait right back here.
But that, because the Victory comes in, and I don't know if their ship is supercharged or whatever. It probably is because they've got a Tiger in there kicking it up a notch. So, but the Victory crew are the main characters, and there's 4. Tejo being the main character of the film. Now, each of these characters have their own intricate backstory. Tejo being, I think, the most that you really connect with. He is the only reason he's doing this, and the only reason he's with the Victory. He's trying to raise money to find the body of his daughter, which is floating out in space. He was like the #1 soldier at age 17, working for the UTS Corporation, killing non-citizens. So he was one of the bad guys as a kid, as a youth. On one of these raids, after he kills a bunch of non-citizens and non-military civilians, he finds a baby next to the mother that he's just shot. He adopts the baby girl, and it becomes his daughter. He loses his taste for the military, and he becomes homeless because he loses his income after that. So him and his daughter, who is a young girl, maybe 6, 7 years old, are forced to live on the streets, and he is gambling his life away trying to make income. And during one of these gambling games, which is like on a floating city in space with a bunch of non-citizens, and it's like in a slum, the daughter wanders off, and he's not paying attention because he's gambling, and a piece of space debris hits this city and sucks the daughter into space. So he's been trying to raise money because apparently she has a tracker on her, and before she leaves orbit, the UTS soldiers, officers have some way to track her, but only if Tejo pays them to do so.
This is very morbid.
So he's trying to get enough money to find her before she leaves, before she's out of range.
They got like a 3-year window before she leaves orbit.
So he's desperate to get money throughout. That's what his character is doing on the Victory. He's desperate to get any kind of money that he can. He's selling the shoes off of his feet in order to do so.
And the thing is that despite the fact that they do this very, very difficult and dangerous work, it pays almost nothing.
Yeah.
And
but that's all they have. Yeah.
Right. And they're all in debt. Like the ship gets repossessed by the bank. They're all they all owe back taxes. And it really, I think it's interesting because in a lot of ways it really illustrates the plight of the poor in real life, like where you get behind and you can't catch up, and things just, sort of domino, and then they just get exponentially worse and worse and worse and worse.
And then you're forced to make decisions that you probably wouldn't have made in other circumstances to try and right. Yeah.
So it is a dark setup because it's not like he's trying to save her. He's just trying to recover her body. So there's no happy ending here.
No, correct. Closure. Yeah. It's not like she's still alive and he thinks that he just, it's the body's, Ugh.
So there's Tejo. Then we have Captain Jang, and I didn't really mention the introduction of these characters. When you see them fighting in the victory, and they all end up unconscious, was a great scene. But anyway, Captain Jang, she is a former Special Forces officer. Again, because she's got another connection to UTS, who deserted to create her own pirate organization, which kind of morphed into the victory and what she's doing now. She actually attempted to kill Sullivan, it's revealed later in the movie.
Yeah, see, because I had a hard time trying to connect the dots at one point. Like we kept going back to Sullivan, and then you would see these characters, but this all kind of unfolds. You don't get a lot of this information up front.
That's the great thing about falling asleep during a movie, because you have to
you have to go back and rewatch it.
So I saw scenes 3 or 4 times over trying to, to play catch up myself.
Yeah.
But it's also revealed that she had an eye transplant to kind of stay off the grid, which is crazy. Then we have Tiger Park, who's called Tiger or Uncle Tiger most of the time. He's a former drug baron, doesn't really have UTS connection like the other two, but he's also trying to escape his past.
Because if he goes to Earth, he'll be...
They're going to execute him because of, for his high crimes. And then we have Bubs, who is very Rogue One-esque design. Maybe a little Baymax thrown in.
Baymax, yeah. This was a very impressive character, by the way.
A robot character.
Yeah.
A repurposed ex-military robot who is saving money to get a skin grafting.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, 10 minutes into this, I was blown away by the level of graphics, and just you're immediately immersed into this world and everything is just tangible. Mm-hmm. You go back to Bubs, which has to be a combination of an animatronic or some kind of a puppet versus a CG character. Obviously, when she's out in space and she's jumping from ship to ship with the harpoon, that's all CG, but it's flawless. And it really is. The production value on this is very impressive.
Yes, and we were talking about Serenity before, and this does, like that movie, set up like a multilingual kind of universe where everybody's talking multiple languages.
Thing I was going to point. I don't know if that's normal in Korea, because you do have whole sequences with Sullivan who they're speaking English. Mm-hmm. The other characters are dubbed, but you just have this mishmash of English and Korean graphics on the walls. It's like a, I guess that was really, like you said, with Firefly, that would really kind of happen, which is, all these cultures are kind of forced together.
Yeah, with Firefly, I think that they established that China became like the major power of the world. So that was the main language being spoken. Right. But this is a little bit different here. But I just wanted to point out that, the production values being what they are in this, usually in an international film where English isn't the first language, and we saw this in Peninsula, the English actors that are speaking the English dialect are usually terrible compared to everybody else. But the level of acting, everyone in this is really up to par. So it is a solid production all the way around. It's not just the special effects. I think the acting, every aspect of it was impressive.
This was very impressive. I was, and again, we didn't mention it, but this is Netflix. This is available on Netflix. They were touting it as like the first real Korean blockbuster. And it was supposed to be released, and then COVID hit.
Maybe we can talk about it on the back end, but it was never released in theaters.
No, it's right. So how can you call it a blockbuster?
I think it was released in Korea, though, because theaters never closed in Korea.
I was reading something where it kept getting pushed back, and then it finally came out on Netflix. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Funny.
It might have been released there, though, because they had their theaters were open for a while, so.
It's funny, you were just talking about the the level of dubbing and whatever. I just happened to come across Train to Busan last night on TV, the tail end of it, but it was on the Spanish channel, so that was really confusing.
So we've already established our 4 main characters in the victory. And so a 5th character is introduced by the name of Dorothy.
Coatname.
Coatname.
Well, we find that out later.
We find that out later. But UTS makes an announcement that there's a robot that's rogue out there. Rogue robots.
Rogue robots. There you go. Can't trust those robots.
So this is
like
a
cute
robot
kid.
that looks like a cute little girl that's been
weaponized.
that's been worked on by the Black Fox, which is a terrorist organization, according to UTS. They've implanted a hydrogen bomb in this little girl robot, and proceed with extreme caution if you see her, and let UTS know they want to get their hands on her.
Yeah, and so who do they find? They stumble across her.
The victory, of course. The victory, of course, finds.
Well, it wouldn't be much of a movie if someone else found her.
No, it wouldn't.
But I got such a Punky Brewster / Chucky vibe from her outfit, because she's got like the little red overalls with the striped shirts and whatnot. But this is why Earth became a desolate wasteland. Apparently, no one knows how to cover their mouth when they sneeze.
Which is hilarious, because there's a running joke whenever she sneezes.
Well, the first time I thought it was cute. By the 4th time
off.
she's doing it, it's like, all right, enough. Cover that mouth.
But yes, the victory crew finds Dorothy, the robot. They realize that it's her. And of course, Tejo sees this as his ticket to his daughter, that he knows that they're going to pay big money to get this robot back.
$2 million.
Because they find a cell phone. They find a cell phone on her.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And there's a caller that keeps trying to get. Yep. So they figure if we call this number back, make a deal, they'll give us lots of money. Which is another hilarious scene where they're talking to each other as they're talking to this guy on the other end of the phone. And he's disguising his voice. What should we ask for? You know, how much is too much? Like 1.5 million, 1 million, 2 million. And the guy offers 2 million. So they set up a drop-off point in a populated nightclub. They do the trade-off with Dorothy. And of course,
as you can see, they're not very good at this.
They're not very good at this, and you know it's going to go sideways. And of course, hilarity ensues.
There's a reason you don't take a kid to a nightclub.
But also at this point, you know, even before they get to this point, Tiger has already become attached to Coatname. He's like the first one who starts to like form an emotional connection with her, and he's reluctant when they go to bring her to the club.
Sure,
he doesn't want to give her up.
You've now connected. It's a kid, and then Tejo, who you think would immediately connect with this kid, was the one who was like standoffish and wanted nothing to do with her. Like she's playing up the cuteness, and you know, she's drawing cartoon pictures of them. But yeah, you see that one by one, they all kind of really lean into her,
which is really nice, because like you said, that's almost telegraphed. Like, okay, Tejo is going to connect with her immediately. That's not what happens.
No,
he's trying to rid himself of her as quickly as he can.
Yeah, I think it's an ugly reminder. Yeah.
All right, I think he's deliberately keeping himself from feeling attached to her.
Correct, yeah. But yeah, as an audience member, you're like, oh, this guy's going to immediately be like, oh, I can just replace my daughter with this one. Because it wasn't really his daughter in the first one either, right? He found a baby. And he said he had never seen an infant child before. But there were some nice little scenes there of him and Soon-Yi. Soon-Yi, yeah. Yep. So anyways, yeah, they take her to the nightclub to do an exchange, and it goes horribly wrong.
They have her in a backpack or a suitcase or something.
It's like one of those, you know, you would put your cat in, so that it has a little window in the back. Because they still think
she's a robot, right? So like she doesn't need to breathe, right?
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Yeah, I don't want to have this kid breathe on me.
So she gets out. There's soldiers there stationed as well. So it's the girl's father that's actually the one that they're going to hand her off to. So she's gone. They get the briefcase of money, but then they realize that she's gone. Then it all breaks loose. The soldiers start firing. And this is when the reveal happens. Captain Jang, you know, witnesses this, that Dorothy, Coatname, magically protects.
Yeah, you think she's got like some kind of a force field.
Tejo and Park from the barrage of bullets. So this goes sideways. They don't do the trade-off. But then, you know, a little bit later, when they're back on the Victory, there's a little subplot of Park who is trying to grow like a tomato plant, a plant and he can't do it. It's dead. Coatname gets her hands on it. Who's Dorothy? Coatname is the real name of Dorothy, the supposed robot, and she makes the plant flourish and grows tomatoes.
She's a full-on ET right there.
She is. It's like somebody that hates cats that sees a cat catch a mouse. Oh, you've got a function now. Let's go sell these tomatoes.
Which they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you were talking about, hilarity ensues. And before they get down to the nightclub, a policeman pulls them over. And there's this great slapstick little scene where they're trying to hide her. The cop is making his way through the ship trying to figure out what's going on. And it was cute. There's a lot of cute moments in this.
The Dutch cop, right? So again, like the multilingual aspect coming in. So at this point, Tejo is still not bonding with Coatney, and he wants to attempt another handoff. He still wants to get that money. Just kind of fast forwarding a little bit, we realize that the Black Fox is not a terrorist organization, that they are in fact an environmentalist group. And they were kind of being used as scapegoats because Coatney actually has nanobot technology in her. She doesn't have a hydrogen bomb injected in her. What she does have are nanobots. Her father injected her with these because she was born with a congenital disease. The nanobots saved her life, but it also, as an offshoot, gave her these powers of regrowth, so she can use the nanobots. You see it happen in the nightclub with the force field. She makes the plants grow, and it's like kind of like a bubbly, effect that happens around her whenever it.
And this is how she ties into Sullivan, right?
Yes, Sullivan wants to use her
for Mars. That's how he's
how
sustained Mars. Is because the whole other thing with UTS is they're, as we said before, they're growing life on Mars to make it sustainable for humanity. And so this is where that 5% of humanity is going to go that UTS deems worthy.
And he's going to use her to set off this hydrogen bomb to destroy the Earth, because now that he's made Mars his life raft in space, he doesn't need her anymore. And one of the Black Foxes says, if they could do that to Mars, like they could fix Earth, but he doesn't want to.
That. Right.
He wants to get rid of people because he's decided like certain people are not worthy. So instead of saving everyone, he's like a cult leader who's like picking and choosing who's going to survive and carry humanity into the future. And he's going to use her, to get rid of. He actually needs to get rid of her, because if anyone else found out what she could do, then they wouldn't need him and his special, unique, exclusive planet.
So let's talk a little bit about Sullivan, because we see right from the beginning that he's infected with something, but it's never really explained what is going on, right? Or did I just miss something? He's like, he gets raged and you see the little black veins crawling through his face, and he's not a nice guy.
And it's revealed early on that he's 152 years old. So whatever is keeping him alive is whatever that rage is.
Yeah,
so I didn't get that either. Explained. It's
is it venom? Like, what's going on here? But they do figure out that she is not a robot, because at one point she actually says, "I have to go poop," and Jang is like, "Robots don't poop, as far as I know." So there's a lot going on in this movie.
That scene made me so angry when Sullivan comes in, kills all the Black Foxes, kills her dad, and then leaves the crew with Victory alive, basically to torment them, so that they can
he's full on bad guy, right? Yeah.
So that they can see how, they don't have the power to overcome his power.
Right.
And he leaves like this big pile of money for them, like, thanks for giving me Dorothy back.
Yep.
And here's this big pile of money. And he's really, really contemptuous of Tejo for wanting this money. But the truth is, if you remember the scene where Tejo gets fired, like, Sullivan was the one who fired him personally, who put him in the position where he lost his home and his ability to take care of his child, who is literally the reason why he's on the street and the reason why his child is dead. And he's saying that Tejo is a lesser person for wanting this money.
Yeah, for
wanting the money.
He keeps having these little tests, like, where he makes moral judgments on people. he tests the reporter who keeps saying to him, oh, you know, it's wrong what you're doing. You are like picking and choosing people and leaving everyone else to die. And so he says, fine, you can kill this terrorist for me. And then
And then
I will save you and your wife and child, and you can come being part of this community, because you're not really mad that people are being left behind. You're mad that you're
not part
being
of it.
left
Yeah.
behind,
Yeah.
you know?
As I think we
So
all would.
the guy shoots the terrorist, and then Sullivan's like, well, you're a bad person.
Right. You're a scumbag for doing that. Now I'm going to have to kill you. Yeah, this character's kind of one note to a certain degree,
but Richard Armitage
he's
is always
menacing
great.
for sure.
So Taeho initially takes the money, and everyone else is like, no, that's blood money. Like, we're not even gonna.
Yeah, Tiger's like very judgmental on him.
But
money.
but Taeho, you know, he has the one-track mind. He is going to find his daughter. He's going to get it to the UTS officers, and that's what he does.
But then he changes his mind.
But I'd like to know how he got that money back, because you see him paying
dump
the
it all
UTS
to
officers.
So he comes back with the money, and they all put their money in the garbage chute. And then they come up with this plan to get Codename back. And also they want to defuse the hydrogen bomb.
Right, because the bomb is attached to this UTS satellite or whatever that she'll be strapped into. The bomb will go off, and this thing will plummet to Earth and then kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And they come up, this is actually a nice sleight of hand that they do here.
Yeah, because when they're trying to figure this out, I'm like, just tow the damn thing away. You can't take people off the planet. Just tow, you know, they're worried that even if they rescue her, she's going to be too close to this bomb and it's going to destroy the nanites and then kill her. So this is not only save Earth,
wouldn't it kill
but
you anyway? You know, wouldn't being next to the bomb just kill you, regardless
well, I guess
of
the radius
nanobots,
as it goes
right?
out. So,
right.
The radius. It's this elaborate race to get her. So
the
far
ruse
removed.
is they're trying, and you as the viewer are taken in by this as well, because
which is great.
They're trying to fool you by thinking they're trying to get Codename away as far as they can from the bomb, but it's actually the opposite.
This whole sequence is fantastic.
Yep.
Like I said, I mentioned before with Bubsy, she's out on the on the hull of the ship, and she's got this giant harpoon, and she's just going ship to ship. And now they get the other sweepers involved and the Black Fox to help facilitate this. You know, and UTS has got these drones which are really nicely designed. And then you see at the end, Sullivan is in one, and it like breaks apart and becomes like this walking mechanism, and I'm like, that's cool. Like, I was really nerding out on that.
Sullivan chases them specifically, like, give me Dorothy back.
Yeah, no, he's like, now I'm going to take this very personal.
And they get to the end, and you realize they're all ready to sacrifice themselves. They've handed Codename off to Pierre, who loves Captain Jang.
Yeah, that's enough. See, there's so many little cute moments in this movie that we didn't even talk about. You know, this other captain who was serenading Jang throughout with his guitar, you know.
And they reveal that they have the bomb, and they're all like ready to die. Mm-hmm. And it's great because when they open up the doors to reveal that the bomb is there, all of his money comes out.
Yeah.
And like flies into the
like literally like slamming him in the face
of his ship, and then
he realizes he's been duped.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It was almost a very Darth Vader in his own TIE fighter moment when you see Sullivan coming.
Like, screw them, I'll take care of that. You know what, guys? I got this one. How'd that work out for you, Vader?
And also the other tie-in to Star Wars, the end had a very Rise of Skywalker feel to it when all the space sweepers come in answer to the call. Just like when all the galaxy shows up at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
It only took them 3 movies, but they finally did show up.
So you think they're going to die, but Codename has actually saved them.
Well, you see them die. They blow up. So you think they're dead.
She saves them with the nanotechnology.
Which I'm not really entirely sure I understand how she pulled that off.
Because the bomb is supposed to destroy the nanotechnology. Right. That's why they were getting her away.
Right. Yeah. And or how she was able to, because she's nowhere near the ship.
Right.
She's now far out of range. That was the whole point of keeping her with the other captain. So how she was able to project the nanobites and to bring them back, I don't
It
quite
was nice
understand, but it didn't
anyway.
matter. Listen, I'm not
Yeah.
going to argue with you.
Mhm.
Semantics, it's a great reveal because they do blow up, and you're like, they just went Rogue One. They just killed them all, but nope. She brings them
Yeah,
back.
it's not something that you think about in the moment there. It's like afterwards, I wonder how, but it doesn't matter as you're watching it. Because
Yes.
But it's great because Bubs and Taeho and Tiger all have this sort of sentimental thing at the end. Jang doesn't say anything, and then she
No.
mocks them all mercilessly.
Right when they come back to life, she's like, "What? What was that?" This was a lot of fun.
I really liked the idea of Coatneem drawing the pictures of each of the individual members and bonding with each one through those portraits, through the pictures that she's drawing.
Yeah, even like the dinosaur pictures she's drawing and whatnot. Yeah, that, like I said, there's so many nice little moments.
It's really nicely paced because you have a chance to get to know everybody in a meaningful way. You see all these great character moments, but there's also action, and there's also like this overarching, kind of conspiracy plot going on. They actually cram a lot into this movie.
Yeah.
In 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem like bloated. It
doesn't.
Like the pacing, like you said, the pacing is great. The action sequences are phenomenal. And then the downtime to character moments are really nice, to the point where, we talked about all the backstories for some of these characters, but even like Captain Jang, we don't really hear that until they're already on the run and Sullivan's sending out messages saying, hey, these are the bad guys and we got to get them. And I'm like, is he just like making up this story? Is this really who they were, especially when it comes to Tiger being a drug lord or whatever? He's got facial tattoos, so I guess that indicates that he was.
Apparently, they're not permanent. He can wash them right off.
Well, I guess he did take them off.
them.
You heard that in the epilogue there. He removed his tattoos
because they were too scary, so he removed them.
Yep. Not too scary for Coatneem, though. He loved him, Uncle Tiger. Yes.
And so Bubs gets the skin graft.
Bubs get the upgrade. That was a little like, oh, that's Bubs. I didn't even know. And she's trying on new voices, and Coatneem's like, no, I like that voice.
And I liked the idea, although you didn't really get a sense of who this person was, but the new #1 soldier, who was Camilla, I think her name was, that was fighting with them. So it was like the new version of Taeho, because she was soldier #1. Like
I thought she was like
Terminator.
I thought she was like a robot.
I wasn't sure if she was a robot just like or if she was a real person. Or...
Yeah. But again, nice action sequences, their fight and whatnot. It's funny. Do you remember the TV show Salvage One, Jim?
No, I do not.
One season back in 78, 79. What's his name? Andy Griffith. And he was a guy, and he basically decided he's going to build a rocket ship and he's going to go up to the moon. He's going to salvage parts and sell it. And so I immediately got that vibe. No one else remembers the show. It lasted like maybe 4 episodes. But from there, I ended up in a YouTube rabbit hole.
Did it start with the whistling, like on the moon?
No. So anyways, yeah, production value on this was absolutely top notch.
It doesn't disappoint. So seek it out. If you've got Netflix, Space Sweepers. Yep.
The language barrier is, like I said, it's dubbed in spots. You do have some, subtitles, but it flows. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommended.
All right, so what kind of buckets would we give?
I'd give a solid 3 3/4.
I give it a 4.
I would give it 3.5.
By the way, if you like the actor who played Taeho, Song Joong-ki, he's actually on a show that just started on Netflix called Vincenzo, about a Korean kid who's adopted by an Italian mafioso.
Oh, jeez.
And who returns home with some interesting skills. And so if you want to watch like a really fun K-drama, and he's in it, Vincenzo just started.
No exploding babies, though?
No exploding babies.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right. So with that, let's go to the concession stand and come back and talk about Sky High.
Enjoy your evening to the fullest. How about some snowy, crisp, and crunchy popcorn? That's a fine way to relax. Just sit and munch contentedly while you enjoy the show. Bring enough popcorn back for the whole family. Everyone likes popcorn. And now, Mom and Dad want a cup of good, satisfying coffee. That's the kind we serve, full of flavor and satisfaction. As you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.
All right, we are back, and we are talking Sky High. So, Jeff, you did introduce this a bit at the top of the show.
I did.
But if you want to give any more detail about your history with this film?
Well, like I said, I saw it in a theater.
Yeah, I was going to ask if this did play in the theater, or if this was like a straight
video.
No,
this was theater. Yeah, I saw it in the theater. I don't know. I mean, Skylar, my daughter, would have only been 3. I think that's a little too young because I think their first movie was Nemo or Monsters Inc. One of the two. Well, Monsters Inc. was, I don't know. I didn't think that deeply into it, but I do know the minute it came out on disc that we purchased it. I have the DVD, and that we watched this movie a lot. And you have to remember that I think Iron Man didn't come out until 2008, so we really didn't have an MCU.
So Spider-Man was the only thing that was out
Incredibles
there.
Came out in 2002, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So
okay.
the idea of these superheroes, and it's really kind of like this Harry Potter approach to superheroes because it's all about their high school. Although it's kind of played tongue in cheek. It's not nowhere near as serious as a Harry Potter movie. But you got a top-notch cast going on here too with Kurt Russell and some of the other, I'm sure you were happy to see Bruce Campbell.
I was happy to see Bruce Campbell. And I was thinking watching this that they borrowed a bit of this in that We Could Be Heroes, the Robert Rodriguez movie that's on it's on Netflix now. Different plot going on, but the setup.
Yep.
The only reason we watched this actually was because Bruce Campbell and Linda Carter were in it.
Linda
Yeah,
Carter.
that was a surprise. I didn't know that Linda Carter was.
They wanted to lean more into her Wonder Woman, but I guess legality, they couldn't put bangle bracelets or a lasso on her. So they did have that little throwaway line where she says, "I'm not Wonder Woman,"
It'd be interesting to see what they would have done with this if Disney had owned Marvel at the time. If they would have put some more. Because there was one kid that was crawling up the walls.
Yeah, and Cloris
Leachman
was the nurse, and she even when Will goes to the nurse's office, and he's worried the fact that his powers are not manifesting. She says, "Well, the kids that get bit by radioactive spiders or fall into a vat of
Toxic
liquid
waste.
or whatever toxic waste. They normally appear the next day." Or they die.
Yeah, and actually there's a funny scene where Kurt Russell and Kelly Preston are sort of, lamenting the fact that their son doesn't have powers, and then, Kurt Russell says something to the effect of like, we could always drop him in a vat of toxic waste.
Right,
and she's like, what?
And he's like,
and he's like, where would we even find a vat of toxic waste?
I love this character. So the setup is that Commander and Jetstream are for all intents and purposes Batman and Robin. They are the world's greatest superheroes, which is Kurt Russell and Kelly Preston.
Now, is this the first time that Kurt Russell has been in a Disney movie since he was a kid, like in the 70s?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
the computer wore red shoes. Is that what?
The computer wore tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes. Oh, red shoes. I was close. Were the tennis shoes red? No.
But he's perfect at playing this kind of blowhard.
Yes. And this was well before he played Ego.
I was actually thinking he's like one step away from Jack Burton.
Yeah, a little more refined. But super fun. This is just it's you just sit back and you take it as a ride.
So the setup is that this Sky High is a high school for the children of these superheroes, and they're being monitored themselves to see when their powers are going to kind of reveal themselves. And Will, who is the son of Kurt Russell and Kelly Preston here, does not have any powers yet. So
there's a lot resting on his shoulders.
There's a lot resting on his shoulders, and it kind of informs his character. So by the end, he does get the powers, but I was a little disappointed. I think I would have liked it better if he didn't. If he didn't get any powers.
And he stayed a sidekick.
He does get them like pretty soon into the movie, you know, like about 20, 25 minutes maybe.
Yeah. And once all the characters are established. And you see, because, you know, this is like first day back to school, or first day of school. And all the other kids on the bus, they're like, hey, man, what's your superpower? You're going to have to wait and find out.
Right. And Bruce Campbell's character is like the gym teacher who sorts them, and they either
Coach Boomer.
Yeah, the sorting hat. He's the sorting hat.
Yeah.
They either go into like the hero track or the sidekick track.
Sidekick. Yes. I did like the writers of this, McCorkle and Schooley. They created Kim Possible, which I think has a lot of parallels to this in some ways. But
it's a very sort of typical Disney movie. Like, it's very cute, like pre-baked, wholesome. Everybody like has adventures and learns lessons by the end.
Which not a bad thing.
It's completely inoffensive in like that live action Disney kind of way.
Although I felt very bad. I need to apologize to Jim because some of those bully scenes probably really kicked in your PTSD.
It wasn't so bad. You know, they were of the innocent variety.
Well, I thought maybe the cheerleader girl might have pushed you.
It wasn't like watching the beginning of The Howling. No, it wasn't. But you know what's funny is that, you know, this is a typical high school movie setup where Will is just besotted with Gwen Grayson. Very nicely named Gwen Grayson, I might add.
Ramona Flowers.
Played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Yep. But of course, the nerdy girl that likes him is more adorable than Gwen Grayson is, but he can't.
We all know it, but he doesn't. Yeah, he falls for the other chick. She goes on, that girl who plays Layla, Danielle Panabaker. She plays Killer Frost in the Flash series.
Really?
So some of them have gone on to.
Well, the actor who plays Warren Peace, my husband watches The Expanse, and apparently he's
really?
in that.
Greatest superhero name ever.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Peace.
And also, like, I don't know how old he was when he did this movie. He looks a little older.
He was full on like Fonzie mode. He was well beyond his high school year, but maybe he got left back.
You know,
who knows?
But he kind of seems like your ace best friend, doesn't he? Like he's like supposedly this angry guy that nobody likes, but then he sits down and like counsels Layla and he counsels Will. You know, he has no stakes in anything in terms of like a relationship, and he's supposed to be Will's archenemy because the commander imprisoned his dad.
Right.
With the villain.
But they end up becoming friends.
And it's interesting because you were saying that Kurt Russell's character is very similar to Jack Burton, because this guy has an ego. He's got his man cave below the house, and he's got all the trophies that he likes to reflect upon of all the bad guys that he's taken down. And that comes to haunt him because the robot that he takes down at the beginning of this movie, the giant robot, which is a cool scene, he rips out his eye. And that robot was very reminiscent of The Incredibles, I think, in itself.
Yes.
But he rips out his eye, which is spying on him throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah, because they're feeding into his ego. Yeah. Yep. He'll take this home.
Yeah.
I will have to say, worst secret identities ever. Everybody knows who they are and where they live. It's not like, you know, at what point Layla says, "Oh, good morning, Commander," and he looks at her like, "Oh, you know," and then he puts on his glasses.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no. But like at one point he comes home in his costume and is talking to the kids who were there from school. Like, it's just like,
well, I mean, they know they're from the superhero school.
I understand.
You know that Will is their kid.
You don't see this guy flying in and out of his house?
But no, I had more issues with the bus. The bus is trying to be inconspicuous, and then all of a sudden it's not. Then it just
Can we
flies
talk about Ron
bridge.
Wilson, who is the greatest character in this movie? Ron Wilson, bus driver.
I did feel bad for him. What kind of school would allow the kids to attack the faculty? Not that he's faculty, but come on. He is an employee.
Yeah, that was the bullies were just straight up jerks.
But we did get Kids in the Hall.
Right? I was going to say, Kids in the Hall. You're thrilled with that.
Jonathan Boy, John Boy, All-American Boy,
All-American
Dave Foley.
Boy.
Flick, back in a Disney movie.
Yeah. And he was probably one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he was funny.
Yeah.
And then Kevin McDonald playing Professor Medulla, a leader type character with a giant pulsing Head.
Giant head. At one point, something blows up. No need to worry unless you're a single-celled organism. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of it's I'm curious to see what your son thought of this.
Well, it's hard to get anything
Gauge.
out of him for something that I'm showing him. He laughed, he enjoyed it as we were watching it. It's a high school movie made for 10-year-olds. Nobody that's actually in high school would want to watch this, but somebody that doesn't know what high school is yet, I think, it's a perfect idealistic world. So I think he enjoyed it a lot. He sat with me, watched the whole thing. That's all I can ask. That's all I can ask him to do.
That's exactly right, because my high schooler did not want to watch
Yes.
it.
No. Meanwhile, I was thrilled to watch it. So, what does that say about me?
He was like, no, I think I'll just play
He
Fallen
passed?
Order.
Wow.
He passed.
I'm glad I showed it to my kids at an early age then. On the DVD, there's an alternate opening sequence, which is basically when Commander, you see that in the flashbacks of the movie, which is when he first takes out Royal Pain and is introduced to Jetstream. But there's more All-American Boy in there, which is always fun. But it makes no sense. I'm glad they didn't include it.
But there are some really funny lines in this.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce, I think, has one of my favorites. You may know me as Sonic Boom. You may not.
At the point where he's talking with Medulla, and he's like, what if I told her she was their evil twin? And then you see later they're all out to double date or whatever, and both girls are on Medulla.
And I did catch there is one announcement in the cafeteria. Will the sidekicks please stop ordering the hero sandwiches?
I don't remember that.
You didn't catch that?
Yeah, that's funny. No smoking on school grounds, or freezing, or disintegrating. Yeah.
Ramona Flowers ends up being the bad guy here.
Yeah, Gwen Grayson, which is obviously a homage to Gwen Stacy and Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson.
I would assume. Yes. We mentioned Cloris Leachman. Danielle, I was saying the girl who played Layla. I thought I really like this character, and there's a scene you could tell, and even War and Peace, sees that she's in love with Will, and she's ready to tell him, and he breaks it to her that he's taking Gwen to the homecoming, and you literally see this girl's heart like break, and it's such a crushing moment. It's so heartbreaking. But she ends up with him at the end anyways.
Gwen Grayson, as we said, ends up being the bad guy. Sue Tenney is her actual name, and the pacifier turns people into babies, and that's what they want to do. Their evil scheme is to take all the heroes, revert them to infants so they can start a supervillain league.
Right. Did anybody catch the SpongeBob cameo?
No.
When Sky High is falling and Will saves it right before it crushes into the house? That was Tom Kenny and Jill, what's her name? Jill Taylor, who are husband and wife, but he's obviously the voice of SpongeBob and she's the voice of Karen on the SpongeBob cartoon.
No, I didn't catch that.
So as soon as I saw him, I'm like, that's Tom Kenny. Soundtrack.
I was convinced that it was the same band covering all these 80s
Yeah, they're
songs.
all covered. They're all cover songs of 80s, but it's got some. I liked it. I liked the little soundtrack.
Well, the final cover of I think I Melt With You is by Bowling for Soup, who does the Phineas and Ferb theme.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
I guess I couldn't pay modern English to do that.
Well, that's the reason why they cover it,
right?
So that they don't have to pay the band.
They don't have to pay the royalties. I was very, I forgot that Kelly Preston had passed last year.
I know.
So that was really heart-wrenching when I see her, because she's so likable in this movie. And it was July of last year, so it's still pretty fresh.
Youthful and vital in this film. It's unfortunately that.
Yeah,
is the
no,
case.
I know that's when you watch some of these movies and you kind of like forget that stuff. But I did see there's a credit for Lucille Soon, who plays the cook. I don't see her in this movie at all, but she does get credit, and she was the voice of the old lady in Talon in last week's Raya.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So who we liked a lot, but I didn't see her.
I read something interesting that the filmmakers separated all the teenage, maybe some of them were simulated teenagers, but they separated them all. They had their own trailers, so there would be no romantic
that makes
entanglements.
sense. Yeah, well.
They didn't want anybody hooking up for 2 weeks and then being arch enemies for the rest of the shoot. So,
all right, now you got to kiss her.
And another tidbit, this was the last live-action Disney film ever released on VHS tape.
Really?
Yes.
2005. Woo, it's a bygone era.
An early sequel idea was, of course, to have these characters go to college, but that never materialized.
I did read that supposedly there's still something in development. You would just do second generation.
You'd have
just,
to.
you know, they're all the Commander's Slipstream or whatever.
Yeah.
What was
I
it?
don't remember this at
Level.
all playing in theaters.
No.
I had no memory of this. I had never heard of it until you brought it up a
There you
couple
go.
of weeks ago. But apparently it was it made its money back. 35 million it cost to make. It made 86 million at the box office. So there you go, Sky High. So what would we give Sky High? You got to go first, Jeff. This is
Yeah.
3.5.
near and dear to
3.5.
you. 3.5?
Yeah. It's not, you know, like you said, your teenage son didn't even want to watch it. But, you know, just for the nostalgia fact, I was texting my son when I was watching this. And apparently, you know, just like the other movies, he picks up on the one poo-poo joke. Because at the end, when they're all babies and you got Medulla, he's got a little baby with a big head, he goes, regrettably, I just went boom, boom. And that always gets a laugh in my house.
I'm gonna say 3. It's fine. It's not something like I choose to watch, but if it's on, I wouldn't necessarily shut it off either.
Yeah.
Like I said, we watched it once when it came out on video, and then I didn't watch it again until
Right.
we watched it for the show. By the way, Kurt Russell did do Disney movie between Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and this. He was a voice in Fox and the Hound.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Still a long time. Wow.
He had done other ones, though. I mean, he had done a bunch of movies for Disney in like the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, he was the protege. He
Mhm.
was the go-to guy for Disney during that
Mhm.
time.
But if you thought that he had stopped doing Disney movies, like once it went into the 80s, nope.
No.
He
Nope.
was a voice in
Nope.
1981.
I think I would probably go 2 3/4 with Sky High. Again, inoffensive, you know, pleasant to watch.
There you go. All right.
I wonder if any of these guys went on to star in their own Disney Channel TV shows.
I don't think so. Like I said, I know that, you know, the one girl's Killer Frost. I don't know Mary Elizabeth Winston, what she's done. I think that there was something else, another movie we reviewed.
She was in Birds of Prey.
There you go.
She was
Yes,
Ramona.
Yes. Well, I know Ramona
Scott
Flowers. I
Pilgrim.
already mentioned Ramona Flowers. That goes without
She's
saying.
in a lot of stuff. She's all over. She was in Fargo with Ewan McGregor as well.
Oh, on
The TV show. The TV show.
I
Yeah.
did not watch it. Sky High.
Are we back to our confessional this week?
We are.
Confessionals.
We have no Marvel show to talk about until next week. So we are WandaVision-less.
So what is our confessional? Are we just going to talk superpowers?
I think so. I went back on iTunes this morning to look through, and I don't know. I feel like somewhere along the line we've already had this discussion, but whatever.
But I've forgotten. So
Yeah, I don't remember what I well, that's not true because I always have the same superpower that I want. So,
Which is?
well, first of all, there's no way I can be half the man as Ron Wilson, the bus driver. But I always wanted to have Nightcrawler's teleportation abilities.
the Banff
The Banff, yeah, minus the stink,
minus the sulfur.
yeah. But as long as he could see where he's going, he could go. I'd like to travel, so it probably would help at work as well.
Yeah.
Find a package right to the front door.
That would
right
be
back.
great, right?
I would not have to carry those 50-pound bags of dog food.
Mm,
Nightcrawler, that's my
Nightcrawler.
guy.
I think I want the time stone. I don't
The
really need to
superhero
have a
power?
superpower. I just want
Just
that.
need the
time
super
stone.
element?
Yeah, my son is growing too fast, and I need to
Yeah.
slow things
Yeah.
down.
So would you just
go back to when
so
he's
would you
2 and
go
3
back in
years
time, or
old.
would you slow down time?
I think I'd go back.
It's very
Um,
sentimental.
Yeah.
Now I feel nice going, Jim. You all make us feel.
I want telekinesis. And by the way, I would 100% be a villain. I have no illusions that I would be heroic.
Wow,
I
I
mean,
like it.
if in the sense like that, you know, when I think of superpowers, I tend to think of them more of like punishing people who are crappy in real life. So, you know, that guy who's like obnoxiously driving on the highway and like scaring the crap out of everybody. Like, that guy's having a 1-car accident.
Yeah.
I have telekinesis. I'm telling you right now.
Little Charles Xavier, huh?
That's right.
Right.
Or a little heat ray to explode one of his back tires as he
Yeah.
passes you. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want anyone else to get hurt. Just the person who's,
Wow.
you know.
Just maybe a little
Are we talking
telekinetic
like
shove off
maimed?
the
Are we
side of the road.
talking
Yeah. Just watch them slowly drive off into a ditch and hit a tree.
I mean,
How's
I
that?
don't, I don't want to kill them because I want them to learn a lesson.
Yes.
But would they make that correlation? Would they be like, well, I was driving too fast and now I paid the price?
Well, if you got in an accident, hopefully,
That's true.
yes.
Yeah,
Um,
I was following a tractor trailer the other day who was zooming all over the road and watched him go through 2 red lights. And if I could have caught up to him, I would have called the number on the back.
mhm.
So, but
But yeah, I've always wanted telekinesis. Because it's kind of cool. I mean, like, you can use it, in a lot of different ways.
sure,
Yeah. You can get the remote from across the room.
that's
It's
true.
true.
Go get me a beer. Whoop! Here it is.
How many times have you done that? Tried to use the force to
Oh, I use the
wield
force every
remote?
time I walk into the grocery store. I can open those doors just by a wave of my hand. My wife is like, every time you have to do that. I'm like, shh, just let me live my life. And I'm not alone. I know there's other out there
Yeah.
who do it. Is that it?
Yeah.
That was
Wow.
a quick one.
I
That
know
was
it's
a
so quick because
one.
we're not talking about
It's not like
WandaVision.
let's choose all the favorite movies and songs from 1987. It's not one of those.
Alphabetically, by the way.
Right.
Well, listen, sometimes they're longer than others. Maybe it's better in and out. Maybe people don't want to listen to us for 2 hours, except for that guy in Columbus.
Except
Thank
for
you,
that
by the
guy in
way.
Columbus. Yeah.
Or lady.
162 hours he put in. So
Nice.
hats off to you, sir. Or
Yes,
ma'am.
indeed. Maybe they're going on vacation. They want to download that stuff. Listen to it on the plane. Yep.
Going to Australia? Dial us up.
So funny that you say that because this time last year, exactly this time, I
You
was
were-
getting on a plane to come home from Australia.
Australia. And how long were you there? Right? Were you?
I was there for 2 weeks.
Yeah. But were you scheduled for 2 weeks, or you were stuck
No,
there?
I was scheduled for 2 weeks, and
Okay.
but it was like the day before or 2 days before I was supposed to get on the plane, the president had announced that they were cutting off all flights from Europe, and there was a huge panic of
Yeah.
people, US citizens who were, on vacation in Europe trying or at a job or whatever,
Scrambling,
scrambling to get home, and people were sending me all these crazy pictures of the lines at customs. My husband's texting me going, "Are you going to be able to get back into the country?" I'm like, "I think so."
I hope
It's like,
so.
if I can just at least get to LA, because the
Good
flight
day, mate. I'm now an Australian citizen.
landed in LA. And Australia just started to lock things down like the day after I left.
Wow. They're like, all right, she's safely out. Let's go. It's crazy. What a
Could have
year.
been you and Tom
What a-
Hanks rooming together.
I see. I wasn't going to bring up Tom Hanks because every time you mention Australia, I do.
Well, he was in Australia at the time
I
that I
know.
was.
I
you
know.
Yeah.
I know. My another friend of mine texted me. It's like, Tom Hanks is sick. Are you sick? Like,
Tom
It's a-
Hanks.
we're in the same
Tom
country
Hanks
together.
is sick. How can you not be sick? And Tom Hanks is
I'm
sick.
like it's a big country. Where I did not encounter Tom Hanks.
He's in Australia. He's right behind you.
But yeah, it was, it's crazy to think back to them because I left the US on March 5th or March 3rd, and there was nothing was shut down. And literally in the 2 weeks I was gone, there was like this cascade of
All
stuff
hell
that
broke loose.
happened, like they started canceling all these conventions and all these festivals, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's getting serious, and then more case numbers are being announced, and like case numbers are rising. And then I came home and like literally everything was closed. Like all the restaurants were closed, all the bars were closed, all the movie theaters were closed, everything was closed. It was so bizarre, especially because Australia had not shut
Yeah.
anything, when I left. So like the day before I came back, I was sitting in a cafe, so it was so weird. There was no sense really that
what
You
was
know,
to
people were
come.
kind of talking about it, but there was really no sense that like things were going to shut down
Right.
there. So
You know, it's interesting you mentioned convention shutting down. We're set to show at a convention in May 8th, Wappingers Falls in Creticon. This is preliminary. I'm assuming that you're not going to be able to jump on a plane and join us, Christina, but Jim and
also,
I will.
it's my son's birthday.
Yes, you come home to the motherland. But Jim and I will be there, and we will be giving out the goodies. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you up to date on that one.
You know, should we incorporate that idea that you had previously about not telling them what our next episode is going to be until they listen to our social media stuff?
I like that idea. Yeah, you must sit through it.
If you want to know what we're going to cover next week, listen to this little message first, then come back and find out. Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIConfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
Thank you for listening to them.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now, what are we doing next week?
What are we doing next week? Well, we mentioned the fact that WandaVision is now wrapped up, and we have no MCU stuff this week, but next week, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is dropping.
We've got a 1-week break, which we are in the middle of right now before Disney Marvel hits us up again with another. What is it going to be? Do we even know? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? 9 weeks?
6 weeks is
Thought
what
it
I
was
saw.
6
6
episodes,
weeks.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know yet how long these episodes will be, but we will be
like
there.
I would like to hope that they're a little bit longer than WandaVision, but whatever. They tell their story in whatever format they need to. We're there.
And we're not even sure, if these are going to be multiple season shows, or if these are just one and done.
No, I don't think,
So-
I don't think that Marvel has announced that at all.
So that's what we're covering. Be it one episode, maybe they'll drop 2 like WandaVision did. We don't know yet.
And then I think
We're
we're going to
also
stay in
covering-
the MCU.
We are going to stay.
Yeah, why not? We're there. Why not hang out for a little bit? So what are we talking about, Christina?
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre that we have yet to even
Well,
talk about
I think
this.
that we started this podcast shortly after Black Panther was in theaters. So we just never got the opportunity to talk about it on
that
its
long
own.
ago. Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
long ago.
It's worthy of bringing up.
So we are completely invested in Disney Plus, in other words.
Yes.
next week.
Let's make that subscription worth it.
Which, by the way, I think I just saw last week that they've passed 100 million subscribers.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
So they've just expanded unbelievably.
But cool.
So, yeah, next week, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Black Panther. So join us, please.
Yeah, Dawn, check out Baby Metal. I am.
Baby Metal. Shout out to Baby Metal.
Baby Metal.
See, it's not just Rob Zombie. We can do it too.
That's right. Baby Metal's like, who are these jerks talking about us?
Hashtag Baby Metal.
I gotta go see if they're on Instagram now. So we'll tag them. All right, kids. Thanks for
All right.
listening. Always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Bye.
Bye. I have to go poop.
Yuck.